So me and my boyfriend were just talking about this, and obviously I'm not only am I an astrologer, and I'm very passionate about politics nowadays, but so is a lot of everybody. And but I'm into Nostradamus also, and those sort of prophecy kind of things. Not into prophets per se, but that dude in particular. I think because I'm projecting some of my similarities to him. But we were talking about how, according to recent stories, which I have to take with a grain of salt because until I hear it from multiple sources, or actually, I hate to sound like I'm being, I don't hate to sound like I'm being biased against Trump, but I know that's exactly how this is going to sound. But until I hear Trump say it, I don't even know if it's real. And I actually think that that's half of the whole, popular thing about him that everybody's going for is because right now with the way that the media is being skewed and all of the elitists, I can't name them because I'm not totally sure who's there and who's not, but the elites that are in one with the media, essentially all of them are opposing Trump right now. And from a sociological standpoint, him having that Cancer stellium in his 11th house, which is supposed to represent the collective community or the people, not from planet aspect-wise, just by houses, I find it very interesting that it's almost as if on a microcosmic scale that Trump being opposed by all other, unknown forces is essentially the American people are projecting their own victimhood onto Trump, the way that the government and the elitists or whatever, Wall Street people, which yes, obviously Trump was a part of that at some point or another, and that's the reason why he's the best one for this. That's why the best bounty hunters used to be criminals. That's why the best detectives used to do, trifling shady shit. It's because you need somebody who understands their game and can basically hit them where it hurts. And that's what we have with Trump. Trump is starting to feel some sort of inclination that he needs to take care of business and make up what's right for what he's done or what he's contributed to. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we've had these grand crosses in the last couple years that were in cardinal signs. Cardinal would be Libra, Aries, and Capricorn and Cancer. Him having that Cancer stellium right there, that's a significant pinpoint in his chart. And when that grand cross hit that, and even some of these full moons have been in Cancer frequently, that the moon is supposed to represent how you feel, and it's supposed to emphasize what you feel is most important astrologically. So theoretically, during these full moons in Cancer, it would obviously be full in that Cancer stellium. He normally has a Sagittarius moon, which is pretty impulsive, doesn't really think things out, and doesn't have any kind of guilt trips usually per se. And it's also almost on the opposite side of the chart. So he understands what he's done, and he's thought about his community, the legacy that he's leaving. He just recently went through his second Saturn return a couple years ago. Well, actually, he's 69, so we're pushing 10 years, I guess. But so he's obviously been reflecting on that, and he's getting to the age now where he's like, legacy. I need to make sure that my kids are safe, my grandkids are safe. A lot of the ideation that people have when they start to get older. And then he realizes that, if you look back throughout pop culture and politics, like into the 80s, he knew about, at least a little bit about politics. At least he had to have taken a couple of, business law or political science classes throughout college. So, and also the fact that Wall Street and the government has been in cahoots with each other for so long, and he's been in that game since the 80s. He obviously knows a lot about how it works, if not from a textbook perspective, but from a street smart insider perspective. And he probably just got disgusted with what he sees. So the fact that the moon has been emphasizing that he needs to focus on what is in his Cancer stellium, which would be his community, his country. And he also has, I think it's within orb, a conjunction between his Venus and Saturn. Venus is supposed to represent relationships with others, or even relationships with other countries, because Saturn usually emphasizes nations, structure, traditions, even sometimes religion. Not the new Christianity, like New Testament, but older versions of that, and so on. So the fact that he has those together, he feels defensive like a crab because they're in Cancer. That he feels like he needs to pull back and basically put a barrier around him and protect himself and protect his community. And I think essentially that's the whole point with the wall that he was talking about. When he started blabbering on about why he needs to put the wall up, that was obviously kind of just, mad-libbed in, and that's, he doesn't use a teleprompter, so there's where his problems lie. But obviously from the get-go, right there, it just shows that he was going to have some sort of reputation issues. But me and my boyfriend were talking. There's been this conspiracy for quite a few years that Obama, it was actually 2013 or 2012, when he signed an executive order without, hush-hush, about implementations if there was a national crisis, to go ahead and initiate a national emergency martial law thing. There's a couple executive orders. There's one for military, and then there's one for, seizing assets, resources like agriculture, this and that, so they could sustain and basically take control and ration out said supplies and resources to keep everybody alive. But we all know how that's going to go. So him and I were talking about this, and also obviously that Baba Vanga lady that died in 1986, she emphasized something about how Obama would be the last president. And I always get Nostradamus and her kind of predictions mixed up. Not because, first off, everybody keeps translating Nostradamus's quatrains differently, so I get confused. I have plenty of his books now, but for years I've been reading, basically garbage gargled up from somebody's direct translation to somebody rewriting it, and it's not the same. And since he uses so many different symbolic allegories, I need to know the difference. So I get hers and his mixed up a lot, but I know what I reference if I'm getting them kind of combined, which in a way I'm very good at being able to understand what people mean by what they say, but I can never actually repeat what they're saying. But I can go, oh, so you mean this? And most of the time they go, no. And then later they'll go, yeah, you're kind of right. Maybe you were a little off that time. Every once in a while I am, but, at least I admit that. But so, something about how, this might be like my rewrite of both of them combined. I'm not entirely sure anymore. But that the leader of the West the 44th will be the last, and the last leader of the free world will be the 44th, with origins of Africa. I might have totally made that up, or that might be some weird subconscious combination of the two. But essentially, both Nostradamus and Vanga have mentioned that there's going to be some correlation with World War III, the Muslim invasion, the Muslim War, which has been a synchronistic thing, and 2016. And so we've been, conspiracy theorists think that Obama's going to call martial law, which is theoretically possible because he implemented that executive order. But I also look back into some recent history, and there are quite a few different presidents who actually had certain executive orders put in place to come in and do whatever the hell they want. And so we were concerned about that. But then what we're coming to now is that the Republican caucus is potentially doing whatever they can to sabotage everything. This is kind of new lingo to me, but I'm, learning as I go. That we can have a broken or a broker convention, meaning that every single Republican nominee was basically, they dropped out and they're lost before there was even a nominee, so that the Senate, I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like that's what's going on. The Senate then gets to nominate a nominee in it as an alternative. And now they're going to nominate Paul Ryan because they want to keep Trump from winning. Because no matter if you're blue or red, all of them don't want Trump to win because Trump is going to change everything. So Trump will likely do what he has to do because there's no contractual obligation for him to actually stay with the Republican Party. That he will run as an independent. Most of the time what that means is that the Republican vote will be split, and there's no way the independents ever win. Well, even before he jumped into the election, there was some sort of survey coming out that Gary Johnson mentioned, because I used to, be on board with him. I still am, to an extent. But I'm a realist, and he's not going to get enough votes to beat everyone. So he was talking about how there's like a 22% of the entire American population that feels that they would rather go for an independent as opposed to the traditional parties because of how Jude they feel about everything. Watch me, somebody call me racist for that, I don't care. But so if he has to switch, I also looked at, because I had to switch my party in order to vote for Trump. People all in every single state can still switch their party to independent if they have to vote for Trump if he goes for an independent run. And there's already different pockets of Trump supporters throughout the country that are already collaborating to do their own demonstration of some kind. Not attack people and burn things to the ground and destroy headstones or whatever the fuck that the liberals are claiming. I was like, if you go watch social justice warrior videos and then you go and read the headlines about apparently, some political party or, supporters of a political party are being violent, please go and look at that again and then see, wait a minute, so would it be the people that have guns that are causing all this destruction, mayhem, and attacking people, and assaulting them with random objects? Or would it be the people that are clearly crazy, that demographic-wise and with sociology are raised in horrible abusive environments and have no guns to shoot anybody with? Huh. Interesting. You can even look at Australia's gun ban in 1996 and notice that, oh yes, gun violence was cut down, but then people started, putting sharp objects in bats and finding different ways to kill themselves. So suicide rates and gun violence went down, but then people just got more creative. So that being said, using that as a model for this example, what would Trump supporters do if they all support the Second Amendment and they all have guns? Exactly. So you just have to look at the accessibility of things and then look at the motives and then look historically like what the behavior is of the said demographic in question. And Black Lives Matter, the social justice warriors, they're all a part of the Bernie Sanders and or Hillary movement. I don't think any of them are actually part of the Hillary movement. I think they don't like her. I think the people that are just kind of middle working class that are still stupid are with Hillary. But that being said, pretty much we're concluding that if Trump goes for the independent, and with what I saw with his true node being triggered in June, late June of this year, that he will likely, if he does run for an independent, he might win. And if he were to win, this would be the first independent in history that ever took the presidential election. That he is no party. And that actually is something that could theoretically be plausible with Nostradamus and Vanga's predictions, because the Great Muslim War is already underway in Europe. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She also says that America will take back the Vatican in 2037, I believe, 2036, something like that. And it also says that one of Nostradamus' quatrains says something about how the third Antichrist will be worse than the first two. He will come from origins of Egypt and be one of the princes of Arabia. So, obviously a lot of these Saudi Arabian princes are really freaking old. They have no heirs that are male. And you know how the whole Muslim thing works with women. So, they found the recently deceased passing prince chose his brother's son. So his nephew is the crown prince, the 27-year-old. And that's going right into his Saturn return. He's also on the NATO Council, and he's the one that also gave Barack Obama his Nobel Peace Prize. He is also the one that is that is basically holding the NATO by their balls and telling them to back down, don't be racist, and let the refugees into Europe. And that's also why other countries that are seeing that they shouldn't be doing that they shouldn't be letting the refugees in, are now contemplating on breaking away from the UN and NATO altogether. So, that being said, if Trump were to win, it would be the end of American politics as we know it, and he would likely eliminate some sort of, things that were essentially with the original system, as much as he can, because essentially the Senate will still be there and everything like that. But the military's behind Trump, apparently, according to what I've been reading, and for good reason. He's the only one that gives a fuck about the veterans, and he also doesn't. He doesn't want to have an offensive military strategy. He wants to take care of the vets. So that's the best way to get the military on your side. So if there is martial law lockdown and they call out the National Guard and everything starts to get really crazy, there might be just an opportunity when the military comes to knock on everybody's doors to do whatever, that they just may say, we're not going to do it, and just refuse. What would the government do if every single military personnel refused to actually initiate martial law? Think about that. And then what if they just stood there and said, no, we will only take orders from Trump, no matter what you say? All those people in the Senate and all those people in the executive branch would then have to figure out how to militarily do all that shit. And since all of them, the majority of them, probably don't, I can't say that for sure, but I know that a lot of them do not have military background, please explain to me how they intend to enforce that. So, that being said, it can go either way. I'm not entirely sure right now, and I don't have any gut feelings to one or the other. I would say I have a gut feeling more to Trump winning, but I think that's going to be the bias talking. So, the world's going to go to complete shit no matter what. But apparently America, at least remnants of it, will continue to exist. So, and I would assume that if we became a complete Muslim country, as the Islamic world insinuates that we are, as Obama wants us to be, etc., that we would not then force to take back the Vatican from the Muslims and their caliphate that are now taking over it right now. So, that being said, that I would conclude that America will not become a Muslim country. So for us to not be a Muslim country, since Hillary has been endorsed by some of the foreigners in Saudi Arabia, Hillary will not be the nominee, and she will not win the presidency. I think you don't have to be an astrologer to know that much. Because Bernie is so soft on the Muslim thing, and he's completely clueless with foreign policy. He claims that his entire platform is based around the economic layout of other countries, but those other countries keep calling him out and saying, please stop calling us socialists, that's insulting. If he can't even get that right for his analogy or his examples, he obviously knows nothing of foreign policy. So, I kid you not, I would see him totally blown up like a blow-up mattress in the Senate House, and just living in there. I want to say he's a Taurus so bad. I can't remember what his sign is right now. I think Virgo. But, yeah. But, so, I don't imagine that Bernie even would win. He's too soft on foreign policy, and he doesn't even know what's going on with the whole Muslim thing. Period. Ted Cruz is bought and paid for. So, Marco Rubio just dropped out. Gary Johnson is great. Nobody even knows the fuck what's going on with him anymore. I think he kind of saw that, yeah, this is way over my head. I haven't even seen the updates from him. And then Trump is the only one that is speaking out and saying no more Muslim refugees. And everybody keeps saying that's un-American. FDR, Jimmy Carter, and there was a president with the last name Hayes. He's the one that banned the Chinese. And, then there's, the whole American war against the Indians and, kicking out the Spaniards out of Florida, and, you know, all the atrocities that we continue to not just get involved in, but cause all over the world. It's not like us to just, you know, put the boot up somebody's ass and kick them out, really? Okay. Apparently you and I are reading the completely wrong different history books or something. Like, you guys are so emphasized on what happened in World War II with Hitler and all this other stuff that you don't even know your own history. And that's exactly what happens for you not to have a future, is to not know your past. So, we'll just see how this plays out. But I would say, just from all the details, it looks like Trump, or somebody who has a very strikingly similar platform and plan to Trump, will be president soon. And that's as unbiased, I think, as I get.